Ooh, that's loud. I'm not going to talk much because I get self-deprecating and I don't want to do that so much anymore.
You'll say that again next year, don't worry.
Yeah, 100%. I don't have a plan. This is going to be a very whiplashy set. It's just like all over the place. But this first piece has been coming back to me. I wrote it like 2 years ago. And I feel like it's gotten relevance to like Australia. I wrote it about Zimbabwe because that's where I'm from. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. No talking, more poetry.
Just do the can.
It's called Drought Season. The sky sheds no tears for my country. Kicked up dust no longer settles, it lingers. In air clouded by perceptions of difference, an insistent incense ritualistically burned gives off fumes that intoxicate with disdain and unrest. A so-called chosen people that worship unblessed. An innocence lost as Mother Nature was undressed. Her now barren womb stands to attest that the fruits of one's labor are the chains of the oppressed. I nomadically stand here, a man dispossessed, my humble behest to confess that the sky sheds no tears for my country. Chapped, cracking lips beg to be kissed by the reminiscent cool of a fresh rain mist, from a time undefined by the words coexist, when being was nature and living was this, before outstretched hands were curled into fists and the boundaries of land were all but dismissed. Those once picturesque vistas, now painted in blood. I would cry, but see, even the sky sheds no tears for my country. She booms, a thunderclap applause to pause despair, where the swelling bags under her blue eyes are always silver-lined. Sunsets dance in palettes of warmth, mingling in the hills from the southeast to the north, in beauty that defies proclamation of word. She says, love me or not, I will be as I am, and be here long after the saga of man, burdened but not saddened in your plight to be free, for I, as the sky, shed no tears for your country. This next piece is about me. I feel like a lot of my writing is about me. I'm self-indulgent that way, as most poets are.
Yeah, fame to be a novelist.
That's about me.
Exactly.
No one wants
You should, if you don't, like, stop writing about me. That'll one day. I call it my Jungle Book, because I love that book and film. Some of them, like the cartoon version. So good. Live action. Anyway, okay. I once wished I was raised by wolves. Not to forsake my mother or father, but rather to have an origin story that would warrant being a little wild. As a child, I was a tad awkward. A gangly stalk that walked with two left feet, like an unsprung spring wound tense and taut too tight to trip, but still falling. My balance offset by a constant sense of insecurity, a quintessential need to not be me. See, my father He always taught me to be more sheep than wolf, although his method was more about appearing sheathed in wool. Play the role, mask with the disguise, wear it to the point you cease to recognize whether this guy is the real you or the social role you adopted. I stopped it. To avoid the inevitable existential quandaries that for centuries have been the squandering of far greater philosophical minds than mine. Or to deny my nature would be to deny the very thing that makes me human. But remember, this man-cub once wished he was raised by wolves. Because younger me was a loner, with a lingering longing to join a pack or a pride or a herd, be one of those vainglorious birds of a feather with the simple pleasure of flocking off together. The choice to weather every storm with each other, with sisters and brothers. My mother, her methodology was a macabre mix of the meticulous and oftentimes quite ridiculous, distorted into myth by time. I, in the dual role of Romulus and Remus, seeking augury on beaten wings, murdering my shadow self and twin to learn that Rome wasn't built in a day, just a day at a time. And the licking is only defeat when the wounds are left unattended. See, my parents were splendid, are splendid. And despite them, or perhaps to spite them, I grew up to be a lone wolf. A pack just wasn't conducive to defining or redefining my truth. I'm finding the hunt, though, is harder. Each meal a battle for just desserts when the pain is in the putting down of everything I'm attached to. I've had to see night and day live in the same symbiotic polarity as I do. Too late to trade a soul for the safe illusion of being raised by wolves. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I'll read this now because I have like 3 poems that are in my head and the rest just not in my head. I'm stalling while I find the poems. I do this a lot. I'm a big feature staller, and then I end up just rambling and saying things and hoping that I find. It's like technology is so it's so useful, but at the same time it's such a hindrance. Let me search for it because I can't find it. Oh, here it is. It's a poem. You'll see.
Thank God for that. If there's a God, they were not
Hi. I'm Thabani's ghostwriter. That sounds weird. It's not that I'm a dead writer, it's that I tend to write the passed away parts of him back to life. I'm the scribe before the speaking, so I guess I'm his prescription. I apologize, I'm nervous. He doesn't let me out on stage much. Rightly so, but not for shame though. He's blameless but still responsible. It's a possible byproduct of social conditioning, shirking away the softer underbelly to protect it. I guess that's why he made me, or maybe I made him, or maybe I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot me for my delivery. Languishing in this opportunity to live a little more vividly, be a little more like him. You just can't help but like him. The charisma, the smile, the stage presence. Isn't he just so disarmingly charming, so talented, such a good writer? No, I'm the good writer, not just the ghost writer. You know, most writers won't let you see this part. Sure, you get to see the art, but never peer into the mind of the artist. See that inner darkness. I'm not that dark. The tortured artist motive is dated and problematic. It just really gets under my skin that I live just under his skin. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be able to perfectly describe the radiance of the sun while never having felt it on your skin? To live in cold isolation, then be plated on a stage / gurney, I as the unknown, a John Doe, half poet, half cadaver, the walking dead, understudying the undeceased in search of peace, as most people do. There's a lot of dead people in the poems I write for him. So I rewrote this as a less morbid eulogy, a hymn of praise that appraises I, which is to say he / him, formerly known as they, before the collective became too isolating. The id, myself, and the superego me diverging polarized. Despise deprecating wordplay, desperately waiting for the light of day, which is to say, sun, rise, and be the man that the father figure said you would be, precursed by could be, dispelled by the notion of predestination, and allowing for the choice not to, if you so choose. Day by day, the Monday blues roll on and rock on with an off-tune rhythm, giving the option to move with them, a little out of sync. So you swim, become one with the water you always were, washing sins away, waving friends goodbye. But I am just his ghostwriter, so he won't finish this poem, and you'll never hear it.
I think you need to have like an evil laugh right
Thabani, could you move the
No problem.
music down?
Oh,
So I can see you. Thanks.
Get out of my way. Only for the crowds who are reading cartoons.
Now that I have space, I'll do a different poem. It's more
Space
spacey. This was originally a page poem, and then I rewrote it to make it a stage poem.
Two-page poem. Page.
Yeah, that's all I'll say about it, I think. And I'll just get into it. Are these chains deserved? I am condemned for walking both worlds as the last demigod, the half-blood son of a patriarchal deity dismissed for inherent humanity, a lost wanderer with wind wisp into wishes of eternal glory. My story lacks novelty, but holds the pertinence of unjust penance, the pronounced promise of glory, denounced for the price of empathy for being a little too mortally moral, a little uncalloused. This sun, raised as a morning star to fall from grace, once traversed the fires of Hades. I wear this char cloak of blackened skin as my only trophy. Prior to my imprisonment, I conferred with runes in ancient script, still attempting to rewrite my history. Born from an era of erasure, those dead languages seemed to speak to me. The last translation began with a letter, sent into a sentence unaddressed with nowhere real to go. To know the meaning would first require an understanding of its history, although the answers of ancestry were lost in time, not within time itself. Rather with sufficient time to get profit from a story told. You see, the signs of this kind of wealth are telltale, where the totality of told tales are tall tales, and of course, splitting the hairs of privilege has taught us to slow down in a world where victory belongs to the meek let us not mistake those who have chosen solemn silence for those who are unable to speak. The multitude of voices flock together as lost sheep in search of being heard. In lieu of a guarding warden atop the hill sits a dejected shepherd, draped in the omnipotent nonchalance of a would-be god if gods could care less. Instead, they are careless, in the same way children are. Through mistaken sense of scale, vast mountains seen as building blocks, teardrops, in the depth and breadth of seas, seeing death as finality. Perhaps all that separates gods from mortals is you were gifted with permission to fail. I traded said faith for false praise in search of glory, such they say is the madness of monsters. Yet if that escape is the birth of evil, are both gods and mortals evil, or simply feeble prisoners of internal war? On the foreshore of a history that could not foresee the tides of madness, now we wade. Head bowed, chin deep, one misstep shy of drowning. I am told to believe I was birthed of kings and queens, yet this stage of emotional labor is stuck, preceding royalty at the crowning. I ask, could I be once in future? Were the present sooner? A fleeting dream of victory kissed away in the loose-lip embouchure that is the exhale of a deity. Inhaled as rage, a seething crimson sea stretched spanning limb from limb as an ode to the forgotten, the myth of the damned screaming, I will not be caged. I grasp these chains for Helen, Achilles, Heracles, Perseus, Prometheus, Sisyphus, preceding prisoners that came before us. Eyes ablaze, channeling the strength of Samson, my final triumph to bring our father's house down. So much fun as a stage poem.
That one,
I don't know why
yeah.
I ever left it on the page. So, what should I do next?
That one.
That one? This one, I'll do this one. So, I'm currently doing this Instagram slam. So it's like online slam. It's great because I never have to actually leave home.
Solitude slam.
So basically they give us a prompt and a couple days and we write a poem and then post the video online and then they score us, which is terrible because art is subjective and cannot be judged. But anyway, the first prompt was to pick a social issue, which is very slammy. Like, of course, slam is going to want to... I digress. I have a lot of issues with slam, as you can see.
You amongst
Spam, 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 spam.
Anyway, so the social issue that I picked was euthanasia, and that kind of went into climate change, somehow. So this is the poem. Victoria, June 2019. The voluntary dying act kicks in, softens the thick skin, hardened to demand the sick continue living through suffering. I see a world in anguish. Wonder if we humans are the terminal illness grievously tearing apart a body. Are we a ravenous cancer licking famished capitalist lips, and she just another aching body we will devour? We call her Mother Nature, yet ignore the separation of the moniker, how parent and child can be independent being, making the passive act of inaction matricide. Or after 4.5 billion years of agony, perhaps, she wants to die. Longs to be freed from this anthropogenic virus pillaging her vitality, slowly eroding earthy skin, toxifying her lungs, a fervent fever from scorching sores consuming. Tell me, what disease does not speak apathy, does not destroy amorally as designed, with no care for the carcasses left behind? We switch roles from doctor denying Hippocratic oath to incurable malady to child, clutching the hand of their dying mother, watching the woeful torment in her eyes, possible for ourselves that offers reprieve on the path to death's door. And I ask, could the earth call for euthanasia? Do we watchful children rallying for change truly wish to save her? Or simply spare ourselves the onerous toil of the morning? How am I doing for time? I'm terrible at it. Terrible at it.
What's time?
Time. What's time?
I don't know.
It's 9 o'clock.
Need water?
Just a man might.
Good. I'll do a timepiece. Not a watch.
Let's watch that.
It's called time travel. This is it.
Take us on a trip.
I am a time traveler.
Cool.
Well, technically, I used to be. And I suppose subsequently will be. Time, you see, can be elusively convoluted and confusing, especially when you put unnecessary emphasis on tenses. Henceforth, to relieve tension and avoid confusion, I'll remain fixed to my present representation, wherein, as I mentioned, I am a time traveler. And although this is happening now for you, for me, this moment has come and gone and been a reminiscent shadow of a half-forgotten scene repetitively played out in my nomadic temporal layout. I could prove it and submit a few predictions. However, after time, you start to lose the predilection to tell knowledge of your future, justifying your existence. You'll be insistent. I know. But as history does show, these things have a way of repeating themselves. These things have a way of repeating themselves. These things have a way of repeating themselves. Meeting myself was a particularly weird one, both existentially and sexually. My doctor recommended against it, but who really follows suggestions? Turns out, me hated myself. I was a little indifferent, but collective we are really quite narcissistic. All of time and space, and I spend most of it finding myself. But I am a time traveler. So the anachronistic paradox is, none of this has happened yet. And it's already happened. And it's happening right now. I like that. Okay, I'll do 2 more. 2 more. This is a fun one that I haven't done in a long, long time. Not that long,
shit.
like a year. I wrote it to have fun. I was writing like a lot of really depressing poetry. So I decided to write something fun. It's very limericky, which is fun. And very fun, which I've said. As you can see, I'm stalling.
Mine has a habit of repeating itself.
Okay, here it is. It's called Color Fetish. I think you can tell what it's about. Unwrap this packaged gift. Unbuckle and unclip. Feel the vibration, cleaving, grinding of the zip. savor every second that constricts the space between us. Then be bewildered that I'm black with an average-sized piece. Some claim to be post-racist, all-inclusive, color-blindish, but I've been slyly right-swiping, bumbling about and wryly grinding to the finding of an apparent color fetish. Don't be offended. Like most things, it's not about you, and it's likely you're a victim too, in your own way. Maybe by me, when I say yes, you were born in Dandenong, but pray tell, where are you really from? We never bring up the debate of how neither of us are ethnic natives, so I implore you, please proceed. Teach me your Western sensibilities, and the hopefully non-noxious conditioning concoction that gives your hair that quiff, saying you're worth it. The pornside smorgasbord of categories has a taste for every palate, and a job for every talent. So adamantly I endorse you pick your poison as you please, but as you heed and read the warnings on the label, don't be fooled into thinking name brands work better than generics. Our packaging is different, but we share chemical composition, so judge not how we look, but what we do. And I just might have the medicine for you. Yeah. Oh, funny. Okay, last piece I'll do is obviously the Melbourne Spoken Word piece. It's so good. That's crazy. I never know where to fit it in sets. Sometimes I should start with it. Sometimes I should end with it. I don't know where to. I don't know where it lives. You know, it hasn't found its home yet.
You're on travel.
Maybe it exists nowhere. Maybe it exists when I share it. It's weird because I need to be like in a mind frame to share it. But I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. No hype, like it's not as great as people talking about. It's just don't believe the hype. But decide for yourself.
I'm really looking forward to this.
I feel this pressure. I'm like, oh my god, people expect this.
It's not Ulysses, man.
It's not. It's just like it's just another poem.
Just another poem.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. I was like you once, or at the very least wished to be, with a wistful while away, violently contorted against my will, a miscarried marionette. Birth was labor, and for full circle's sake life spent working, dancing to the strings of a patriarchal puppeteer for you. The gawking voyeur, void of intervention, I, as the placid performer, formed not owning this frame, responding to clandestine gestures, just wanting to be a real boy, and real boys don't cry. My pseudo-maestro Geppetto painted a permanent pair of tears on my cheeks to juxtapose these pearly whites, archetype cast in both comedy and tragedy. These limbs, handcrafted from mahogany and ebony, no holly, is the whitest wood and would replace themselves with lighter-hued lumber for the lick of the limelight caress, glazed with a chalky veneer. All dolled up to move to this voodoo, uncooked to my culture, taboo to Ubuntu, broken Bantu bones thrown by a wayward witch doctor in the way I would doctor my story, framed to entertain, that in seconds be swiftly forgotten, to drip, drop, and drown in a Disney Plus stream, my relentless pursuit of personification reduced to a null hypothesis, with the vagrant voice of a guiding conscience reverbing as crickets in the silence. While seeking speech on Pleasure Island, I learned to speak in misdirection where half-truths roll off the tongue with a tastier tang than full lies, imitating to flatter, to appease, to assimilate, a little late to the party while hardly knowing the dance, but I learned to mirror performance, cadence, entertain like a human, can move like a human, consume like a human, praise God like a human. Dear God, I'm not human. But can I be? Or at least let me know why you made me. Who holds to account the callous creator who selfishly made me a plaything? We offspring of artists are often abandoned, with a curtain call too late for answers, and a show that must go on. You see, I had strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me. Whew.